Good morning, everyone. Kate and Fiona Pearman joining you for this week's Facebook Live, where we're continuing our conversation around perfectionism. Now, so far we've talked about what is it, why it's a problem, and today we really want to start to resource you as individuals to understand how this is playing out for you, understand what it's costing you, and then importantly, how do you start to navigate through? And the first place we want to start is all around self-awareness. The more that you have awareness around how perfectionism drives the choices you make, the actions you take, how it plays out for you in your daily lives, in your habits, in your work delivery, the more that we're going to be able to unpack whether this is in service of you, whether it's helpful for you, or whether it's hindering you in your performance.
Yeah, I think the piece we really want you to start to dig into here is what's going on for me and where could I potentially make different choices to start to experiment and see. And a good question to ask yourself as you're facing maybe far too much on your plate is looking at what you've got on and starting to ask, for what purpose and what cost am I doing this? This is one of the self-coaching questions we ask all the time, and it helps us become more clear on what's going on. And once we have that, we can actually ask good questions of ourselves and others about, what are the expectations here? What am I assuming needs to be done? Why do I think that we need to do it this way, or there's only one way, or it has to be done in the detail that I've always done it? As soon as we start to raise awareness and have those questions, we can think differently about what amount of effort we're putting for the return that we're getting in each case. And as we do that, we can question and get maybe the input of others so that we make better choices, or choices that are more aligned to what's actually required in this situation.
I think it's important to catch here, a lot of our decisions and actions are on default, right? On auto behavior. And so the awareness raising is really about starting to calibrate what's required in this context. Fit for purpose would be the language that I would use, so that we can make different, new, relevant choices. One client talked about, not only was I doing work that was unnecessary, it was work that was not recognized because it wasn't appreciated by senior executives. So I think this is a really important piece, because in many circumstances, we're putting a lot of effort in to get things perfect or get it to a certain standard, when that is unnecessary and not valued by the organization, but it's coming at a cost, right? And often that's our personal time, it's compromises we're making in our personal lives. So awareness, we cannot emphasize how important your ability to understand how perfectionism is impacting your choices, your actions, and then moving to that second step, right, which is getting clear on what is expected, what is needed, what is fit for purpose, what is right-sized for the context, the dynamics, the stakeholder requirements that we have here. And here it's really important to ask good questions again. What does good look like, or what does done look like? We're making assumptions often that we need to deliver here, when actually done or fit for purpose is here for what's relevant for our stakeholders. So good conversations, good questions are important here. I think really good open dialogue with our senior stakeholders, or the people with whom we're delivering for, around what it is that they are needing within this context.
I think the other place, and we often hear this when we're running women in leadership programs in organizations, and often our clients in our Acts of Confidence program are talking about how hard it is to delegate and to communicate to others to do things to the standard that we're holding, which often is maybe overextended. And so we find it hard because we want things to be done perfectly, to be done in a certain way. It's hard to then give tasks to others and expect them to deliver to that standard. And so one of the important pieces here is communicating with others, explaining to others, and making sure that we are delegating, that we aren't taking it all on ourselves. It's a really important part of leadership. It's often one of the biggest tension points, is how do I successfully make sure that other people can actually step in and do the work that's required here, often as leaders, so that you can be freed up to have more time for the strategic and important work. And I think we always say, chunk it down here. What are the small experiments you can do? What are the small activities you can do so that it makes it easier for you to delegate to others, to communicate to those stakeholders in a way that means you're going to deliver what's required, not necessarily this perfect that isn't needed or recognized in each situation.
Yeah, I think this focus on action, on doing something different, on breaking the habit, is really important because we're pattern interrupting our thinking. We're pattern interrupting our measure of what done is, what success is, and recalibrating that a little bit. And importantly, becoming our own best coach, which is, you know what, actually, I'm prepared to have a conversation with my leader. I'm prepared to show this to my leader. I'm prepared to put this forward as done, which would be different to maybe what I would have done, you know, a month ago, 6 months ago. So the action taking is really important because we're recalibrating in your brain your formula for what success looks like. And when you do that and you recognize that actually, you know, good was good enough, or the 7 out of 10 was actually exactly what was needed for this scenario, and that actually meant that I didn't do that final 20 or 30%, and that's freed me up to go and do something else. Our ability to experience, have that lived experience, will encourage us to complete that cycle of thinking, to take that action again, and over time really recalibrate how our brain shows up, how our brain assesses when we've done a good job, when we've done enough as is needed. And I think that's the important conversation that we really want to start to have with ourselves and to start coaching ourselves through. Team, we're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, we'd love for you to comment below or share it with someone. No doubt, perfectionism is something that plays out for so many of us. So if there's someone in your world who would benefit from today's confidence conversation, we'd love for you to share that with them. If you want to tune in more, head over to our YouTube channel. Literally hundreds of videos for you to dig into, including the two where we talk about what is perfectionism and why it's a problem. And if when you're ready to go deeper with your relationship with core confidence, visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.